So you know that Interledger is designed for sending payment instructions and not moving money itself. So you might be wondering, well, what exactly are these pre-existing payment rails? It says that we're relying on this shared settlement in order to facilitate the actual transfer of funds. So what does that mean? And to grasp this concept, it's crucial to understand the difference between clearing and settling a payment. Clearing involves a series of steps to verify and process the payment instructions before any actual money is moved between accounts or between banks. When a payment order is received, it has to undergo several checks, like verifying that the account numbers are valid and ensuring that the sender has access to sufficient funds to make that payment. Only once all of these conditions are met, then clearing creates a binding payment obligation for a future transfer. Settlement, on the other hand, is where the actual funds are being transferred between banks. So once clearing is complete and everything is verified, the settlement process moves money across the books of a bank. Sometimes central banks can act as a centralized hub for settlements. If all the banks in a country have an account at the central bank, then it means that the central bank can move money from the account of one bank into the account of another bank in order to transfer funds between those two banks and finalize that payment. This is not needed when a transaction takes place between two accounts inside the same bank, right? And that's why when a payment is made inside the same bank, we usually see that clearance and settlement occur pretty much simultaneously. That said, many central banks also provide immediate settlement between banks with a real-time gross settlement system, which means that each transaction is processed individually and settled immediately. But in addition to a real-time gross settlement, central banks could also support net settlement systems. So in these systems, multiple transactions are aggregated and only the net positions are settled at the end of a specified period. So for instance, you might only be settling once at the end of the day. So the advantage of this is that only net debts are paid between banks instead of doing a lot of back and forth for every single transaction as it comes in. So Interledger doesn't handle the actual movement of money. That's the role of settlement. And when we say settlement happens outside of Interledger, we're referring to this existing underlying financial infrastructure to move the actual funds. And shared settlement rails are the financial networks and systems that different institutions use to settle their obligations. Now, Interledger uses these established financial networks such as central banks or other payment networks that ensure the transfer of funds. And in this way, it's actually just leveraging existing infrastructure. So I guess the next question from here might be kind of, well, if there's already an existing settlement infrastructure, kind of, well, what value is Interledger adding to the system? And I think what's important to think then is if we're paying from one bank to another within the same country, it's actually not such a big problem. And in many ways, that problem has already been solved. But cross-border and cross-currency payments get complicated. So there can be these really long transaction chains. If Bank A and Bank B are located in different countries, then there is no central bank to handle settlement between them. And in this case, we have to rely on correspondence banking. So cross-border settlements typically occur between Nostro and Vostro accounts. And this is the idea that Bank A has an account at Bank B, which is in another country, and that account that it holds is in that country's foreign currency. And this allows settlement to happen within that account. But not all banks have access to foreign banks. They might not have that kind of infrastructure or relationship. And so sometimes one bank needs to settle with another local bank, and that bank has one of these Nostro accounts with a foreign bank, and so it can handle that settlement across borders. The idea is that this chain can actually get really long, really complicated, and it can add significant delays. So on top of that, we also have different financial systems like digital wallets and mobile money providers. So keep in mind, not everyone even has a bank account, but this doesn't exclude you from having, for example, a mobile money account. And in the case of mobile money, users don't need a bank account, but the funds themselves are still kept in a shared trust account at the bank. So imagine a world where the mobile money vendor could more easily tap into an existing settlement system that the bank is already part of. And Interledger addresses these challenges by providing a protocol that transcends borders and diverse financial systems. It acts as a bridge between these closed financial networks, enabling them to transact using a common language. This means we could move to a world where you could send money from your bank account to someone with a mobile money account. It's this interoperability across systems where you see Interledger shine. It uses pathfinding algorithms to figure out the best and cheapest paths through the network that makes settlement possible. Interledger is also built on very modern technology, so it's capable of handling up to 1 million transactions per second per participant. And this high throughput and reduced transaction cost opens up new possibilities, which we've already touched on. Things like sending micropayments or enabling more efficient and cheaper currency conversion. And because Interledger also supports these higher level protocols like open payments, it enables things like quoting and allows third parties to have direct access to accounts and so on.